So basically, it did good numbers. Good numbers compared to the fact that Adrian Broner, John Molina, Robert Guerrero, and Keith Thurman never fought in front of an audience of 3 million plus people. The unofficial number is 3.13 million households, but that's unofficial, and we're going to talk about that. So right now, normally I would usually have some audio for you, but I'm going to read a little bit of David Greisman's article off of Boxing Scene right now. I'm going to post the actual link to the article right below. Also visit realcombatmedia.com, which is the link in the description box. There's going to be 3 links. The second link is Real Combat Media, where all my videos and all interviews, also from myself and from others, will be right there below. T Street Controversy, T Street Controversy Live. The early ratings for the debut of Premier Boxing Champions was very good when contrasted with what boxing tends to pull on HBO and Showtime. Though those premium cable channels say their focus is on keeping their subscribers satisfied. So basically what that means is, as I said to start the video off, if you get 1 million, 1.1, 1.3, 1.5, then you're considered a super mega hit on HBO and Showtime. But remember, people are paying in the United States $14, $15 plus per month for those channels a piece. So when you factor that in, you can understand that how when someone does 1 million anything on HBO and Showtime, those are very large numbers. But when you look at on national television, there are large numbers as well, but it's free television as far as national television. It may not be free for you guys over in the UK or outside of the United States, because NBC over here and CBS and ABC, those channels are in the United States are ITV. Or BBC, if you get where I'm going with it. Or Channel 5, if I think that's ITV over there in Belfast, Ireland, whatever the case may be. But let me continue. PBC will need to show itself as being marketable for advertisers and their target audience. It will need to maintain the audience that tuned into past Saturday, and never mind growing it. Now, us fans, right? Guys like myself, guys like most likely the people who are watching these videos, guys like David Greisman, the media reporters, we're pretty much a given. So the fact that we're going to watch names like, or it's pretty much mandatory for guys like us to watch names like Adrian Broner, Robert Guerrero, and Keith Thurman, it's just easier because it's on regular television. So for the people who don't have the HBO and the Showtime, we were able to watch it. Not me, myself. I have those packages, but they were able to watch it hassle-free. Also having the app. I don't know how they count the views for people watching on that app. So there's so much access you're able, like there as well, because on the NBC, I believe it's called NBC Live Extra app, you're able to watch all PBC events on your phone. So, the target audience is fine. The only thing about us is the target audience, if David Greisman is right, which I agree with him to an extent, that they should focus on keeping us satisfied, but also you got to entertain, and get those channel surfers in too. But what I'm saying is, for us, the boxing fans, as I touched on in a previous video, we want the entrances to not, we want the old entrances back. Even if you, just have the boxers and the trainers, no entourage, that's okay. We don't want that to be tampered with. Also, it's a little too rated G. I've got feedback from a lot of fans. So, and if they want to satisfy us, it's things like that they got to fix or they got to tweak a little bit. I understand they got their own plan, but you got to be able to take some criticism and feedback. I take criticism and feedback every day. So, the fast overnight, now this is why I say it's unofficial numbers. The fast overnight rating was an average of 3.13 viewers during the first 2.5 hour time slot on Saturday night of primetime NBC, according to Zapatouth.com's TV by the Numbers industry blog. It was not the highest rating on program network TV that evening. A pair of CSI reruns and an episode of 48 Hours outdid on CBS with 3.42, 3.9, 4.6, blah, blah. A rerun of 2020, not to be rude, food. A rerun of 2020 on NBC did 4.1 million. A showing of In an Instant on NBC did 4.36. So basically, put it this way. It wasn't, okay, for everything that was going on NBC, CBS, and NBC during or around that time slot, Premier Boxing Champions, I wouldn't even say mid-pack, where it was at the lower end. But remember what I was saying. Now, I didn't remember. What boxing telecast in the last 5 years, or anything on network television, I believe Tyson Fury versus Steve Cunningham did very good numbers, if I'm correct. But outside of that, whatever boxing event did anywhere over 1 million, 2 million. So, and remember, for the boxers, Adrian Broner, John Molina, Robert Guerrero, and Keith Thurman never fought in front of 3 million people. But at this point in time, I mean, ratings aside, honestly, I thought it was going to be around 5 million. But with a fight like John Molina versus Adrian Broner, maybe that could have, been a decrease in ratings. But one thing that they did do is they captured the audience that they want to capture, the 18 to 49-year-old demographic. So, and those were the people who stuck with the entire event. The largest group of people who watched, the largest demographic of people who watched the fight in its entirety was 18 to 49. But what they want to do is grow new boxing fans or bring back old boxing fans, that don't have HBO and Showtime. Those people that are flicking through the channels and say, oh, I see some boxing on. Like, for example, if you never watched boxing before and you see Adrian Broner versus John Molina, and John Molina only landing 54 punches throughout the entire course of the fight live on primetime television, and you see that, you're watching, you're like, okay, all right, okay. And then you're going to be like, that's it. You turn. The only thing that may have kept you there if you seen, Adrian Broner doing his little, that actually in my event gave the fight personality, if you get what I'm saying. So, there's room for improvement. And as I said in previous videos, I'm not going to sit here and judge something that's brand new. But one thing we need to know is, if you don't know that, this is Al Haymon and his investors' money. They purchased this time on CBS, NBC, and all these platforms that they have. So right now they want companies to come in, for example, a company like Pepsi or something like that, to come in and say, okay, we like this. We're going to give y'all 25 million. You get what I'm saying? So right now they're building. But let's talk about something else that I didn't talk about before. Let's talk about the purses. Let's talk about who's making what. Did you know that Keith Thurman, which is really, really, really phenomenal money. Keith Thurman, what is it? I believe he made 1.5 million. Robert Guerrero 1.25. Adrian Broner 1.25. And it does not see. Let me see if we can find out how much John Molina. John Molina 450,000. Abner Maris 500,000. That's crazy. Yeah. So that's a lot of money that was thrown in the event. Now you could say, well, Keith Thurman was offered this by Rock Nation and everything. Keith Thurman wasn't offered the opportunity to fight in front of a crowd of not a crowd, an audience of 3 million, and that number is going to increase. By the way, now you have that unofficial number of 3.1. That can increase by anywhere from, $250,000 to $750,000, because what it is the way that fast tracking ratings work is, from my understanding, they don't really include time zones. What it is they count that 8:30 or that 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Slot across all across all time zones. So there could be times when it's not even on. For example, the fight. That Nick Cannon show may have been on it, but it may have been on at the time, but they were counting all those hours at one. As far as ratings are concerned, for all 3 hours on the East Coast, the West Coast, and in Central America, not South America, but basically, in Texas and all that, if you get what I'm saying. I don't know why I had to explain that, but it could increase. But either way, like I said, anything below 3 million, in my opinion, would have been a failure, if that makes sense. You could think, you should think that, well, a guy like Danny Garcia, Lamont Peterson, and Andy Lee, who's going to have a lot of Irish following watching on that telecast, April 11th. We're talking about the PBC on NBC, the second one. You got to think that that may do around 4 million households or so. And, you know, like the future is there. There's some things they got some issues with, you know, like for example, if I talked about it in a video before, is that it looks like Haymon may be trying to make his own belt, or it looks like the PBC, and it sounds like a belt. The Premier Boxing Champions Welterweight Championship or some old shit like that. But when it came to the sanctioning bodies, they didn't recognize or mention anything about Keith Thurman's 147-pound WBA title. Even when his team members came to present the belt around Thurman, when the security stopped them like, oh, you know, we got orders not to let you bring that belt into this ring. So, you know, it's certain things, but like I said, it's all speculation right now as far as if he's making his own belt or not. But we're sure seeing the signs, because right now, it's like if I start a business and I know I got my own belt come out, I'm not showcasing nobody else's belt. This is Premier Boxing Champion. So when we come out with our belt, that's the focus. Now, if you fight all these other guys, these contenders or whatever, you know, that that have that belt, then you can fight those guys for that belt. But when it comes to Premier Boxing Champions, the WBC, the WBA, and it just, you know, on NBC, it just doesn't seem like they want to give any shine to it or any type of mention, you know, and that makes me think, well, they must got something else on the way. You know, Thurman didn't come out with his belt. You know, he wasn't mentioned as the WBA regular world champion or nothing. But that's just my own personal opinion, of course. But if I was a betting man, I would be like, Haymon is making his own belt. I'm T Street Controversy, the article from David Grossman, where you can actually get details on everything. I'm going to put the link right down below. Also on RealCombatMedia.com, the link in the description box. What we're doing is we're covering Mayweather versus Pacquiao. So therefore, what you need to do is you need to put a go to the website. You need to put a vote in. Mayweather by decision, Pacquiao by decision, Mayweather by KO, Pacquiao by KO. I'm going with Manny Pacquiao, by the way. But click the link. On the home page, you're going to see the poll. I know I'm talking a little bit fast. Got a lot of videos pumping out. T Street Controversy, T Street Controversy Live.